So maybe we should talk quickly about what Magento offers, because I'm sure most people haven't even heard of it, apart from some of the people that actually know about open source e-commerce frameworks. So basically, it uses MySQL, which is a very standard database technology on servers. It also uses PHP, which is a hugely popular open source programming language. So it uses those two things and uses a very themable kind of web framework. So it has XML at its core and basically allows people like us, designers, to actually hack into it and make very usable e-commerce sites. I shouldn't even say usable, like they're pro.
Yes.
Like they've got, everything you can think of, from like tiered pricing to any currency you can think of, and the payment gateways, there's something like 20 of them that you can use. So there's very few other e-commerce solutions out there that have that kind of those kinds of features.
I guess the great thing that I found about working with it was just I actually found it very, very easy to theme. From someone who's used to working with WordPress and doing a bit of Drupal theming and, theming any other kind of framework you can think of, whether it's kind of expression engine and that sort of thing. I found it actually very, very usable in that sense. I found it really easy to kind of get in and, examine where the CSS was, where the kind of templates are, where your images need to go. And in that sense, I found it really great to work with. Once we kind of got into the mode of how to actually theme it, the theming actually went very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, one of its strong suits. Mm-hmm. Where I can see it using some improvements are the admin interface, as well as, it's flushed out a lot. Like, they obviously have thought a lot about it, but that's possibly what also makes it poor, is there's too many choices.
Yeah.
And what WordPress does a really good job of is like taking buttons away if you don't need them.
Exactly.
And Magento could seriously take a page from that.
Yeah, definitely. Those were some of the first kind of comments I was making about it. Was when the learning curve, we'll say, for Magento is definitely quite a bit steeper than something like WordPress. What I would say is I think it might not be quite as steep as, say, Drupal. I find a lot of times people that don't have a good kind of technical sense a lot of times can have a hard time dealing with the kind of node-based system that Drupal uses. Sometimes it just takes people a little while to kind of wrap their head around that. But again, going back to the back end of Magento, there are some things that could definitely use some improvement. There were some kind of minor functionality things that, weren't necessarily fully fleshed out. And I guess maybe it's a good time to kind of bring this up, but it kind of comes back to what I was going to say earlier, which is that, the number of features that Magento has, as much as they're a great thing, they also can kind of be a bit of a detriment to it, and what we kind of found was that Magento had tons of great features, but every little aspect of each of those features hadn't necessarily been kind of fully fleshed out. And I think just the tagging system is a great example of this.
Yeah.
How they had created this great tagging system so that kind of front-end users could tag products with just about anything they wanted, and admins can approve the tags. But where they kind of dropped the ball a little bit was that as an admin, you can't go in and add a tag to a product. You can't go in and remove a tag from a product. Literally, you have, the only way I could find to remove a tag from a product was essentially to kind of hack into the database.
Whoa.
And remove it, which, is not exactly a good thing. If you're going to put a feature like that in the site, you want to make sure it's fully kind of fleshed out and that all the functionality you could really need for that feature is going to be there.
That's a good example, for sure.
So, there have been some little letdowns, but, the one thing I will say is that the team at Varian's the company which is developing Magento, is doing quite a good job of, staying on top of bug reports, and they are releasing new versions often enough that, chances are pretty good, if you've got an issue with one of the features, it's going to be fixed, within a couple of months. Fingers crossed.
That's great. That's great.
So, it's been a great technology, and, I think for the first time working with the technology, it was relatively headache-free. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, no
I mean-
technology is without its headaches, but
Yeah, it'll be interesting once we get through another project that we're working on currently, which is another e-commerce site, and that's going to be done all in Drupal.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to compare, our experience with Ubercart and Drupal with Magento, and I think there's obviously. I'm looking forward to the next Magento project where we'll be able to kind of leverage some of the knowledge that we gained for Obakki. Magento has a pretty huge footprint when it comes to what it needs from a server, and we've had to upgrade the server from a half gig of RAM, which was already for a virtual private server hosting service, to have half a gig. That's already quite a lot. That's at least twice as much as most websites. So when I say most, I mean the average kind of medium-sized website. But and we found that half a gig wasn't. It was just coming to a bit of a crawl at certain times.
So we've actually done quite a number of things to kind of try and shore up the server a little bit, and make sure that the site's reacting and it's not bogged down by Magento. And so obviously at Lyft I think I kind of like to think of myself as kind of a general contractor. I'm definitely not afraid to call in the pros when need be. I know if my toilet blew up, I would not be the guy that was in there with a monkey wrench fixing it myself.
Yeah.
I'd be on the phone to the plumber right away.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of what we realized pretty quickly when we were starting to look at the server specs and getting the hosting all set up. So
that's right.
We were actually really fortunate to work with a very top-notch kind of sysadmin, Weston Trimestra. So
from NetSide.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, I said that really slowly. From NetSide.
Anyway, yeah, the Weston was really, really great. He did an absolutely fantastic job of setting up the server for us, and as well as just setting up the server and making sure that it had all the right specs. He really took it to the next level and really did a lot of very kind of specialized optimization. Yeah, he really did a great job speeding up PHP. He optimized the SQL databases. He just did a fantastic job. And I mean, in the end, I was blown away because the site goes up live on the new server, and it's running way faster on the live server than it ever has, even on my local host. That was amazing. It's shocking. I don't think that's ever happened before.